and I'm hoping I am online and you can see me and hear me. And and thank you for joining. Oops, now I'm live. Hello and welcome to the 8th module of the Applied Meditation course. And this module is very special, and this is the reason I started this course in the first place. I wanted to share this beautiful practice with you. And it's wrapped in the layers of the meditation course and giving you the basics of what proper meditation techniques are. And the technique that I want to talk to you about, it's very critical in the world that we'll live now, in the world where the way we'll live is being transformed, and it's being transformed forever. And we just have to embrace it. And this technique will truly, truly help you thrive in this situation that we're currently experiencing with the COVID. And my heart goes out to people who live in the big cities. I lived for 20 years in New York City in a small apartment with children, and I went through the blackout. I went through September 11. I know how difficult it is to be in the very small quarters. And what's happening now in New York, it has been happening in other cities like Rome, but I think it is particularly different and difficult for the city dwellers, the people who live in these big metropolises in the small tiny apartments, and being in isolation that we are now. It um, it really forces us to go and look at ourselves and understand really the how deep the separation is between us and the nature. Even before you think of other people, yes, we do need each other, but we do need the nature much more than we think we do. And it's not like we're not aware of it. We've always been, but in the process of daily life and running about, jobs and uh, life, we forget about it. We distract ourselves from it. We distract with gadgets, TV, and what I would suggest to people watching this, if you're in the cities, if you are becoming claustrophobic a little bit in your tiny quarters or bigger quarters, bring some nature into your space. Buy some plants, study the plants before you buy them because they all have different properties. And in the city, there are wonderful florists who carry an abundance of everything. But buy the plants, and they will give you amazing love in the form of protection, oxygen, energy that you don't expect to get from a plant. So study the ones that you want to bring in. There are some that give you energy. There are some that give you strength. Introduce that into your house. I see people all over my neighborhood. Some are getting dogs that they always wanted to have, or pet, house pet. I'm not suggesting it to everybody in New York, but that's, after September 11, everybody got married, everybody had children, and the whole city changed a lot what type of city it is. The trees grew up and the apartments got bigger. And I would also suggest bring some nature through tinctures. I'm a big proponent of different healing medicines, and there is great tinctures currently produced. You can get them on Amazon. But what I would recommend, get a good base like a goji berry juice. It's amazing what it does to the hormonal system. And right now we're in the stressful situation, so it's adrenaline and cortisol, and that destroys our bodies. So, small shot of goji berry, which is excellent, especially for women, and you can get them on Amazon, buy in glass containers, and then add some tinctures to it. Echinacea, immune system; astragalus, immune system; propolis, immune system; labella, you can write the book on it. It's energy, vitality. And just take that shot every day. And that's nature in your body. And it will help you feel much calmer, much more peaceful. And so let's get back to our course and let me explain a little bit. So, as a recap, we talked about the obstacles of meditation at our last session. We talked about losing the object. Last time we talked about the sleepiness on or anxiety, and anxiety is what's going on right now. So, stay off anxiety, stay off fear. And I know it's very hard. So you have to do some inner work to be in that space. And today I want to talk about the practice. It's really a practice, and you can do it off the cushion. You don't necessarily need to be on the cushion. It can be done anywhere, anytime. And you can choose to do it all day long, and the practice that creates miracles. It's not very well known here in the US. It's an Eastern practice. It was released many hundreds years ago by the practicing monks in the Tibetan monasteries. I believe the first Dalai Lama released this sacred practice to people because there was a time of plague, there was a time of pandemic, and nothing was helping. And this practice was just vital. And that's when it was released, and it helped so many people. I've been using it, and I've seen miracles. I'll give you a very simple example. One day, my mom was suffering in neck pain, very, debilitating pain that she had for weeks. And at that time, I was just learning about Tong Len. Tong Len is the Tibetan name for this practice, and it translates as giving and taking. It's the practice of compassion. It's the practice of practicing compassion for other living beings. And I have done one session of Tong Len on her. And one morning, next day, she's coming down the stairs and she couldn't move the neck. She was stiff. She literally had to move her entire body to turn. And I see she's moving her head. She's walking normal. This practice creates miracles. You don't have to believe me. You just have to practice it. I will explain it today, and we'll do the practicing tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but our next session next week. But the what it is, it's the practice of noticing what's going on in other people's worlds and wanting and developing this desire to take away whatever it is, whatever the pain and suffering they're going through. And you learn to take that into yourself, but not to hold on to it into yourself, but to burn it off. And so you don't hold other people's pain inside of you. You destroy it correctly and give them back everything that you wish for them. So you breathe in compassionately, and you destroy it with the wisdom. And there is some visualization technique involved. There is a breathing technique involved. It's really one of the very few open practices that are extremely powerful. And it's all based on the idea that we all have equal right to happiness. And the more we learn to shift our habit from taking care of only ourselves and loving only ourselves, and we shift to the point that we want to take care of others. And when you do that, it brings you more happiness. Um, so it's one of the best things when somebody's feeling depressed. If you are feeling depressed, when we start practicing this, we will be doing it on ourselves first, because you do have to take care of yourself. But it also helps you develop compassion for others, and and you also develop a personal responsibility for every living being around you in your world, and you become that person who can help every living being. And we all born with the notion of Superman. The reason Hollywood movies about Superman, Superwomen collect the biggest, gross the biggest in the movies, because we love this idea. We're born with this idea. And that's why these movies about Superman, Superwoman, they are extremely popular. We gravitate towards that notion. So when you talk about, I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of the practice called Tong Len. It's two words. It's giving and taking. But in reality, in practice, and I'll walk you through the mechanics of it, in practice, we really are taking first and then giving. But it produces a fastest changes, and this was scientifically observed. It produces fastest changes in the structure of the brain of the people who meditate or use this practice. And over time, there are some beautiful changes that happen to deep meditators. They actually see their brainwave patterns that I've never seen anybody's brain before. So when they started meditators doing the compassion meditation, they see very high frequencies in the brain activity that we typically don't experience or don't observe anywhere else. And this is for people who have been meditating long term. But you can start this, on a day-to-day basis. You can do it anywhere where you are. You can use this as a means to clear out everything that might be blocking you, whether it's relationship. Because as you look at others, you try to take away this kind of pain and suffering from them. And really, you're doing it for yourself, because everything is the projection of your own mind. So when you take away from others, you take away from yourself. When you give to others, you give to yourself. Um, and so you, so the technique. Let's talk a little bit about the technique. So when you do this type of meditation, you imagine a person, and that person could be you. It could be anywhere. It could be your children, a child crying in the background. It could be somebody who's sick and not well. It could be somebody who's stressed, sitting in the apartment in the city. It could be many people. It could be the entire planet of people. But you can start with one, and you visualize the person that you want to take to help. in front of you. So, and we've practiced this before when we did golden rule meditation, for instance. We imagined that there is somebody you deeply care sitting in front of you. All of these techniques, the steps that on each other. And there is a reason we've been doing them. And there is a reason we've been trying to focus on the object. So you focus on the person in front of you, and it could be, again, yourself. It could be somebody else. It could be somebody, start with somebody who is near and dear to your heart. And just as they're in front of you, see all of their pain and suffering that they have in their life. And you can imagine that pain as like a black tar, something that doesn't belong in the body. And what you will do through the practice, you will be, through the breath, you will be taking that out of that. So see them inside. See inside that pain. You don't necessarily see the pain. You see the smoke covering them from inside. And what you like to see inside, it's like a beautiful sky, for instance. Some beautiful sky, like the interior of their inner body. Forget that we have organs and bones and all of that stuff. Forget that for the moment. And then that smoke, that black tar, it could be the anger, it could be the anxiety, it could be some inability to connect with somebody in the family, something they cannot forgive, something that is blocking them from building relationships with people. And that black smoke, you inhale and collect in the center of their chest. So through the breath, you visualize that you collect all of that smoke, wherever it is in their body, and you collect it into the small black ball in the middle of their chest. And then inside of you, you see the beautiful sky, blue sky inside of you. And don't imagine nothing else inside of you except for the blue skyness. Forget the fact that you have guts and brains and heart and lungs. Leave that aside. Just see the outer form of your body and imagine that it's filled with a beautiful blue light. And then within the light at your chest, at your heart, the light of your soul, you see a beautiful diamond. And I mentioned that aside from breath, aside from visualizations, there are also some images that have deeper meaning that you visualize in this meditation. So one is the diamond, and the diamond signifies wisdom, and wisdom is your understanding of where everything comes from in this world. It represents the fact that you understand that you, we all create everything in this world. And in a sense, if you've seen suffering somewhere, somebody's suffering, you created that suffering. And that's and now you have the opportunity to take away that suffering that you've been forced to see. So you expand your capacity to take care of your own mental imprints that might have been planted a long time ago. And you see the scale of this pandemic. We all are in this together. So nobody could be isolated. But we all do stuff, and we all have done mindlessly stuff that might have brought harm to others, and that's the mental implant. Im, im, it's a seed that opens up as suffering. So what you're doing, you're clearing that. You're clearing those old mental afflictions that are there, the old karmas that make you see others in pain. Um, so the next step, you will be breathing in that black ball. And you breathe it up so it comes through your nostrils, and you have a very strong intention because of how you understand the way of creating the world, that you can take away the suffering. And then you breathe it over towards the sea, towards the diamond that is inside of your chest. And that diamond, usually in the traditional practices, rests on a red rose, and that signifies compassion. So it's a symbol of compassion and your care for the person or the people in the world. And and you can also think about taking care of a single person represents taking care of all the living beings who are experiencing similar issues, similar pain, similar distress and suffering. And and then your motivation is to take that away. And I told you motivation is 90% of everything we do, think, and say. So the motivation is to clean it, heal it, remove it. So you inhale that black ball of tar, black smoke, and when it touches the diamond in your chest, that diamond, that wisdom, is enough to explode it. And it does explode. You're visualizing that. And if you have problems visualizing, that's okay. The intent is what matters. But when it touches, you imagine when it touches the diamond inside of your heart, it explodes. And it explodes into light, into white light. And then that was the first part. The first part was taking. And I told you the practice Tong Len is translated as given and taking. So the second part is so you took away in the first part, you took away the pain. And inside of them, there is nothing but blue sky. And now you move to the giving part. And in the giving part, you imagine that you're giving them every single good thing that you ever accumulated in your life. Everything you could think of. So it's good health, it's beautiful relationships, it's harmony, it's anything you very strongly attracted to or attached to. If it's your intellect, which is my attachment, you give that away. If it's your capacity for friendship, you give that away. Give it give them whatever they need. If they need good health or peace of mind, give them that. Give them exactly what they need at that given point. Um, Whatever they need to achieve their goal, their dream in life. And as you imagine giving it to them, imagine that it's going out. You almost like it's a breath out of light that comes out of your heart. You breathe it out to them. It permeates their body, and it permeates every living being on this planet. Um, so this is essentially the practice. There are books written on this practice. There are courses written on this practice. I actually want to do a much deeper course on this. But this is just your first introduction. Strange to some of you, or it might grab you, and it's okay on this to sit with you. And if you want to practice it, please come back next week. And I can tell you a little bit more about the miracles of this practice. Thousands of ways. Once you get good at it, there are thousands of ways to use this technique. You can. It takes seconds. Once you become really comfortable and good, um, do it on people in the subway, in the store, somebody who is going through. Just start paying attention to what's going around you, and when you have the deeper motivation to change your world, this is how you change it. And you can do it at any time, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and you don't need to be on the cushion. So, um, now, and if you understand where things come from, and at the beginning we talked about the pen, we explained that the things really come from you, not onto you. The reality is really manifested from you. And when you understand where it comes from you, if you understand the emptiness and pure potential of everything surrounding you, um, then you understand that you only get what you give. And then you want to give everything to somebody because that's what comes back to you. And it comes back to you in a multitude of ways, in a huge variety of ways. And um, you get enormous gifts. I've heard stories when somebody uh, was at the deathbed, or very crippled and disabled, and they did this practice for extended period of time. And this is the practice. This is one of the practices that create miracles. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Thank you for continuing to watch these series, whether live or in recording. And I hope you're well. We'll continue more. I didn't touch as much on the obstacles of meditation today because I wanted to talk a little bit more about the connection to the nature and how you can bring and dissolve what you have, particularly those people who live in New York City, in small apartments and are confined to small places right now. And but next time will be the remaining obstacles in meditation. We'll do more practice of Tong Len, and some will 10 or 11 module. We'll talk a little bit about different levels of meditation, how you progress um, through this practice. But right now, I just want to wish everybody to stay safe and calm. Have a wonderful day.